Bringing it here, Eagle Field, live today, Georgetown High School. We get ready for game number 1 here in the First Pitch Classic. Georgetown taking on the Little Elm Lobos out of the greater Dallas Metroplex. I'm Wally Harmon, and I'm here, and I'm going to run everything. And so bear with me today. This is what it will look like when we're on the road, unable to set up behind the wall, one camera view. And so the camera will be running straight here from the booth as it goes across the field to cover at least all the action in front of you. And then I'll run the scoreboard, call the game. It's all good. We're going to make it happen. So bear with us. If I slip up, forget a thing, bear with me. Forgiveness is the key today. Grace is the word of the day. The Georgetown Eagles come in 2-2 on the year after a big 15-2 win to Run Rule. Corpus Christi Carroll last night behind a beautiful pitching performance from David Fluitt. Gets his first win on the year. He went all 5 innings and did a magnificent job. Hitting across the board was a big lift for the Georgetown Eagles after a rough start in the morning. Devin Peterson, 3 for 4, 3 runs, 2 RBIs. 1 for 1 was Riley Leininger with a triple and 2 RBIs. Walked 3 times, scored 3 runs. Luke Hawley had a good night, 2 for 2 with a sac fly, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. And you get the theme there. Everything seemed to be clicking for this baseball team. Jack Kiki at the bottom of the lineup, 2 for 3 with an RBI, 2 runs scored. Hayden Grooms, 1 for 4, 2 runs scored. Talon Ball, 1 for 2, 2 walks, a run scored. It just went up and down the roster. The bats were clicking last night, and the Eagles got the win to even out at 2-2. But now they turned their attention to the Little Elm Lobos. Out of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, their coach is Matt Harbin. Assistant coaches Mark Smith, Aaron Ciaburri, and Matt Janes. The Little Elm logo starting lineup will go this way for today as selected by Coach Matt Harbin. That's what we were waiting on, a couple of changes for them. They're late for the Lobos. Leading it off and playing center field, number 3, Kendall Johnson. Batting second at second base, number 2, Dylan Terry. Batting third, the shortstop, number 7, Roman Robinson. Batting fourth, the third baseman, number 10, Alex Madrano. Batting fifth, the pitcher and designated hitter, number 20, Caden Richardson. Batting sixth, the first baseman, number 34, Zach Bliss. In the 7th slot, the right fielder, number 4, Tristan Fielder. In the 8th spot, the catcher, number 12, Ben Heathcock. And in the 9th spot, the left fielder, number 5, Corey Dickinson. So the Lobos will go Johnson, Terry, Robinson in the top third, Madrano, Richardson, Bliss in the middle third, and Fielder, Heathcock, and Dickinson in the bottom third. Your Georgetown Eagles head coach is Jordan Vieira, assistant coach Chad Payne, David Durrell, James Key, and Frank Anzuris. The manager, Jared Frimmel, alongside head coach Jordan Vieira down at home plate with the 2 umpires, and the head coach of the Lobos, Matt Harbin, as they do the discussion right before the entrances and the national anthem. We'll go over the lineup quickly here for the Georgetown Eagles as selected by head coach Jordan Vieira in his 5th season at the helm. Leading it off in center field, number 17, Devin Peterson. Batting second, the left fielder, number 5, Tate Ritchie. Batting third, the pitcher, number 21, Riley Leininger. Batting fourth, the third baseman, number 6, Luke Hawley. Batting fifth, the right fielder, number 11, that's Jackson Rainey. Batting sixth, the catcher, number 16, Reese Herrera. At second base in the 7th slot, number 2, Talent Mighty Mouse Ball. In the 8th slot, the first baseman, number 12, David Fluitt. And in the 9th spot, the shortstop, number 20, that's Jack Kiki. So the Eagles will respond with Peterson, Ritchie, and Leininger in the top third of the lineup. Hawley, Rainey, and Herrera in the middle third. Ball, Fluitt, and Kiki in the bottom third of the lineup. Jake Bachman to baseball operations for Georgetown. Ruby Hellman, Nicole Witt, Carter Campbell, and Grace King, the stat girls. Jared Frimmel, your manager. For Georgetown, athletic trainers Chad Hennessy and Vanessa Rideau. The athletic director for Georgetown ISD is Jason Dean. Principal, Brian Johnson. Athletic coordinator is Chuck Griffin. And the superintendent for Georgetown ISD is Dr. Devin Padaville. The Georgetown Eagles in the road grays today. The all-gray unis, gray pants, gray tops with the Georgetown blue hat with the white G logo. High socks for the Eagles, the Georgetown Blues. The Georgetown blue numbers on the back with blue lettering and numbers on the front of the jerseys. Georgetown and capital block print lettering across the front of the Eagles jerseys. The Little Elm Lobos will be in the white uniforms, navy blue pinstripes with the gold numbers outlined in navy blue. As they are introduced down the first baseline, they'll be out of the first base dugout. The visitors here in game number 1. Georgetown will follow up with game number 2 directly following at 4:30. They'll take on the San Antonio Johnson Jaguars. When the first game comes to an end, we will cut the stream and we will create a second stream for you to click on and open up if you're listening at home or abroad. And so understand when we cut it off, I'll recreate the next stream and then make sure we have a second stream up and going quickly when we turn around to go back to game number 2. After this ball game today, after these 2 ball games today, the Georgetown Eagles will be on the road for the next 2 weekends. We will not have the ball games, but we will come back live on the week of spring break. March 12th, we'll be back home live here at Eagle Field to take on the Conley Cougars in the first week of district baseball for Georgetown. And so come join us then. But on the road the next couple of weekends, and so you'll have to check on social media to see the updates from Coach Vieira and the staff as the 2 teams, the varsity team will be on the road next weekend, I believe down in San Antonio and then up in the Dallas area the following week. We'll take a quick timeout. As we do, we'll go to your national anthem, and we come back. It's time to play baseball here at Eagle Field. Stay with us. Georgetown Baseball live here on the SHN Sports Network, brought to you by First Responder Broadcasting. I'm Wally Harmon, and we're live here at the Eagle Field, located 2211 North Austin Avenue. If you ever want to come out and catch a game, the address is not far down the road. The Eagles 23, 15-1 on the season last year in 2023, 13-1 in district to win the district title as they get going here in 2024. With a new look team, some of the seniors back, some new juniors, a sophomore and Jack Kiki at shortstop. And so this team continuing to do battle. Jordan Vieira, the head coach, does a great job of bringing in the best talent in this tournament. 31 teams across the northern Austin area. Eastview hosted some games, Liberty Hill, Cedar Ridge, Round Rock, Stony Point, Cedar Park. And so a lot of great baseball played this weekend here in Georgetown, especially the Heath Hawks, one of the, well, I like to call them the other host team here. They come every year and enjoy the time here at Georgetown as they sign off and head out. They had a great weekend, went 6-0. And Shannon, their broadcaster, and Tristan, his sidekick, good friends now. And so love to see the Heath Hawks again as they head back to the Rockwall area. And in steps for the Lobos, Kendall Johnson. He'll step in for the left side. Leininger will work from the windup. The right-hander for the Eagles. The first pitch of the ball game. A line drive sent out to right center field. Jackson Rainey on the run. He won't get to it. It's going to be for extra bases all the way to the wall. Rainey will pick it up as Johnson circles second, headed to third base. And it's going to be a leadoff triple for Kendall Johnson and the Lobos. Nice shot there in the first pitch of the ball game. The speedy center fielder sends it for a ride. And the first batter reaches base. A runner on third here as we go to number 2 in the lineup, Dylan Terry, the second baseman. He'll step in. A runner down at third base. Leininger moves to the stretch here. The runner on third. Comes set. The first pitch. Stays high. Ball one. 1-0 the count. To Dylan Terry. He steps back in from the right side. Leininger comes set from the stretch. The 1-0 pitch. Ground ball pulled foul towards the third base dugout. Count evens out at 1 ball and 1 strike now. To the second baseman, Dylan Terry. Roman Robinson on deck, the shortstop for the Lobos. Herrera behind the plate for the Eagles will set the defense here in just a second. Leininger gets a sign and comes set from the stretch. The 1-1 pitch to Terry. In there for a called strike 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes now. Defensively for the Eagles, Ritchie in left, Peterson in center, Rainey in right. On the infield, Holly at third, Kiki at short, Talonball at second, Fluid at first. The 1-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3. And just like that, Riley Leininger strikes out his first batter of the ball game for out number 1.
Next up, number 7, Roman Robinson.
And Roman Robinson will step in, the shortstop. Steps in from the right side. Robinson, a senior for the Lobos. Readies for the first pitch. Turns the bunt. Bunts it foul back to the backstop. So Leininger ahead in the count. No balls and 1 strike here to Roman Robinson, the shortstop. Alex Medrano, the third baseman, on deck for the Lobos. Beautiful day, a clear sky here at Eagle Field. Not much wind as you see the flags barely moving out there past the center field wall. Leininger will come set in the stretch. The 0-1 pitch to Robinson. Squares the bunt, takes it inside for ball 1. 1-1 the count here. Robinson will step out. Get the signal from the third base coach. Back in for the right side. Back part of the box. Inside half of the batter's box, close to the plate. Squares the bunt early. Leininger comes set in the stretch. The 1-1 pitch. Pulls it back. Base hit up the middle into center field. And that'll score the first run of the ball game for the Lobos. Nice piece of hitting there by Roman Robinson. He gets the RBI single. And the Lobos take the early lead 1-0. Johnson cruises in from third base for that run.
Now batting number 10, Alex Medrano.
The third baseman, number 10, Alex Medrano, will step in from the right side. Senior third baseman. Robinson leads off first, held on by Fluid. The first pitch to Medrano. He moves out of the way and takes it for ball 1. Want to know the count to Alex Medrano with the pitcher. Designated hitter on deck, Caden Richardson. Leininger comes set in the stretch, the 1-0 count. Throw over to first base, not in time. Robinson dives back in safely there. Leininger comes set, the 1-0 pitch, and that will hit him. So 2 men aboard for the Lobos here with 1 out. So Medrano down to first base. Roman Richardson walks up to second, and in steps Caden Richardson. Richardson, a junior. Correction, Richardson, a senior. Bats from the right side, throws right. Comes set from the right side. Leininger from the stretch. A look back at second base. The first pitch. Breaking pitch down in the turf for ball 1. A 1-0 the count. Zach Bliss, the first baseman, on deck for the Lobos. 1 out here in the top of the first. A leadoff triple by Kendall Johnson. Then a strikeout of Terry. And then a RBI single by Roman Richardson. Scores Johnson for the first run of the ball game. Then Medrano hit by a pitch. So now runners on first and second with 1 out here in the top of the first. For the Lobos. Catcher gear malfunction here for Reese Herrera behind the plate. Reese Herrera ready to go. As Richardson comes back after a visit with the third base coach. Now we'll reset. Ready to go back to play here. 1-0 count to Richardson with one out here in the top of the first. Leininger starts his first game of the season here for the Eagles. Look back at second as he comes set in the stretch. The 1-0 pitch. Down to the turf, ball 2. 2-0 the count now to Caden Richardson. One out here in the top of the first. 4:30 p.m. the second half of the doubleheader. Georgetown will take on the San Antonio Johnson Jaguars. The final ball game of the First Pitch Classic, brought to you by B&N Sports, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, and Easton Sports. Richardson waits. The pitch from Leininger stays outside. Ball 3. 3-0 the count down to the pitcher designated hitter, Riley Leininger. Takes his time. Now we'll address the rubber in the stretch. Works with the first base side of the rubber as he comes set here. 3-0 the count to Richardson. Leininger look back at second base. The 3-0 pitch. In there for a called strike. 3-1 the count now. One out. Runners at first and second. 1-0 the Lobos, the early lead. Leininger comes set in the stretch. Richardson waits. A look back at second base. Now a turn towards second. No throw there. So Robinson retreats without a throw. Everyone will reset now. 3-1 the count to Caden Richardson with one out here in the top of the first. Leininger comes set. The 3-1 pitch. Line drive, right center field, and it's going to be a gap shot. That's going to score at least one. It went all the way to the wall. Peterson will pick it up. Here comes the second around, all the way around from first base. And that's going to be a 2 RBI double for Caden Richardson. And now the Lobos lead it 3-0 here in the top of the first. Caden Richardson got a nice hitter's count there with a 3-1 pitch. Did his job, depositing it to right center field all the way to the wall for a 2 RBI double. Robinson and Medrano score. And in steps Zach Bliss, the first baseman. He'll step in from the left side. Bliss, a sophomore. Leininger comes set from the stretch. Look back at second base. A turn to second. And off the glove of Kiki into center field. Would have been a close play there as Caden Richardson was caught leaning to third. Richardson safe. Now we'll all reset as Bliss back in from the left side. Leininger remains in the stretch here. Look back at second base. The first pitch to Bliss. Popped out foul, back out of play down the third baseline. 0-1 the count. The first baseman, Zach Bliss. Tristan Fielder, the right field, on deck for the Lobos. Leininger comes set in the stretch. The 0-1 pitch. Just misses inside for ball 1. 1-1 the count now. Leininger comes set. The 1-1 pitch. Popped back out of play. Leininger ahead in the count now. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1 out here in the top of the first. 3 runs across for the Lobos. Runner down at second base. A 2 RBI double for Caden Richardson, the pitcher for the Lobos today. Leininger comes set in the stretch. The 1-2 pitch. And a ball hit out into the left field. Tate Ritchie closes on it, and he'll settle under it, make the catch for out number 2. Caden Richardson will remain at second base. F7 in the book. You're keeping score for out number 2. And that'll bring up the right fielder, number 4, Tristan Fielder. Fielder, a junior, bats left, throws left, steps in here with 2 outs and a runner at second base. the number 7 hitter in the Lobo lineup. First pitch to fielder. Misses low for ball 1. 1-0 the count now to fielder. Here in the top of the first, 3-0. Liner will come set from the stretch. The 1-0 pitch. Check swing, unable to stop the swing. Called a strike by the home plate umpire. And that'll even out the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. To Tristan Fielder with Ben Heathcock, the catcher, on deck for the Lobos. The 1-1 pitch in there for a called strike 2. And a 1-2 count to Tristan Fielder. Leininger shakes off. Now gets the sign he wants from Reese Herrera. Comes set in the stretch. A look back at second. The 1-2 pitch. Fouled off back to the screen. Fielder stays alive in the at-bat. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Leininger comes set. Fielder ready to go. The 1-2 pitch. Missed inside for ball 2. So a 2-2 count now. To Tristan Fielder, the number 7 hitter for the Lobos. Here in the top of the first, 3 across, 2 outs, a runner at second. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Leininger comes set. The 2-2 pitch. Ground ball hit out to second. Talon Ball will field it on a short hop. Fire across to first just in time to get Tristan Fielder for out number 3. And the top of the first comes to a close, but not before the Lobos put up 3 runs on 3 hits, no errors, and 1 runner left on base. After half an inning, Little Elm 3, Georgetown coming up to bat. Stay with us. Georgetown Eagle baseball continues in just a second. Back here live, Eagle Field. We go to the bottom of the first inning. The top 3 in the Eagle lineup do up Devin Peterson, Tate Ritchie, and Riley Leininger. For your Georgetown Eagles, they will face off against number 20, Caden Richardson, the right-handed senior pitcher, as he did some damage there in the top of the first with a 2 RBI double. He'll step in here to lead off the bottom of the first against Devin Peterson, your center fielder. Peterson, the 6'2", 205-pound senior, bats on the right side. Steps in here to lead things off for the Georgetown Eagles. First pitch on the outside corner for strike 1. Oh, 0-1 the count from the windup. The 0-1 pitch stays high, ball 1. Count evens out at 1-1 now to Peterson. The 1-1 pitch from Richardson. It's in there for a called strike. 1 ball, 2 strikes now to Devin Peterson. Richardson from the windup, works from the third base side of the rubber. The 1-2 pitch. Breaking pitch down to the dirt, a swing and a miss. It's away from the catcher. He'll throw down, but it gets into right field, a collision at first base. And Devin Peterson's going to be safe. Richardson will get credit for the strikeout. But we'll see what's going on here as the first baseman stays down for the Lobos. We'll take a quick timeout. Eagle baseball continues in a minute. Back live here at Eagle Field. The first baseman, Zach Bliss, is able to get up and walk it off. Glad he's all right. Big collision there. But Devin Peterson reaches base. Richardson gets credit for the strikeout, but he'll reach on a throwing error there by the catcher. Now Tate Ritchie will step in. Takes the first pitch for a called strike. No outs here in the bottom of the first. A runner at first as Ritchie reached on the drop third strike. The throw down got away from the first baseman Bliss. Richardson comes set in the stretch. A throw over to first, but Peterson dives back in safely. Richardson from the stretch. The 0-1 pitch to Tate Ritchie. Ritchie pops it back out of play. 0-2 now the count to the left fielder. Tate Ritchie, 5'7", 160-pound junior. Bats it right, throws right, steps back in for the right side with no balls and 2 strikes here in the bottom of the first inning. Peterson, the big lead at first, held on by Bliss. Richardson, the 0-2 pitch. Peterson running. The pitch stays inside. No throw down, so Peterson will steal second base. And now a 1-2 count to Tate Ritchie and a runner at second base with no outs here in the bottom of the first. Georgetown trying to scratch back a couple of these runs that they gave up in the top of the first. The 1-2 pitch. Ritchie takes it outside corner. Strike 3 called for out number 1. Oh, the second strikeout of the ball game for Caden Richardson as Riley Leininger will step in. Leininger, the pitcher, steps in here from the left side. Leininger, 6'2", 220 pounds. Throws right, bats left. Richardson comes set from the stretch. Throw back to second base. Peterson back in easily there. 1 out here in the bottom of the first. 3-0. The Lobos put up 3 in the first. On 3 hits, left 1 stranded. Now the Eagles trying to scratch back here in the bottom of the first. Peterson leads off. Richardson comes set. First pitch to Leininger. He'll take it for a called strike. Oh, and 1 the count to Riley Leininger. 1 out here in the bottom of the first. Richardson in the stretch, comes set. Look back at second base. The 0-1 pitch. Up and away, ball 1. 1-1 now the count to Riley Leininger. Caden Richardson comes set and look at Peterson at second base. The 1-1 pitch. Generous. Coach Vieira in the ear of the umpire. It's a called strike, but it's great. He sat outside and still reached outside into the batter's box. It's called a strike. So now Leininger behind in the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Richardson comes set. Look back at second. The 1-2 pitch. Up and away. 2-2 now the count. Riley Leininger here in the bottom of the first inning. Little Elm Lobos, the Georgetown Eagles. The Eagles in the road grays. Georgetown blue numbers. Knee-high pants with the blue socks, blue helmets, blue hats. Leininger comes settled back in from the left side. Richardson comes set. The 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Leininger down on strikes for out number 2. Third strikeout of the inning for Caden Richardson.
Now batting number 6, Luke Holly.
And you might be asking, how did that happen? 2 outs and 3 strikeouts. Peterson swung at strike 3, but it was a drop third strike. The throwdown from the catcher, Heathcock got away from the first baseman Bliss, and Leininger reached base on that throwing error. The first pitch to Luke Holly, a swing and a miss. Strike 1 to Holly. Holly, the 6'2", 180-pound junior. Bats right, throws right. The third baseman steps back in from the right side as Richardson comes set in the stretch. The 0-1 pitch. Stays high for ball 1. 1-1 the count. Reese Herrera, the catcher, on deck for the Eagles. Should Holly be able to extend the inning? The 1-1 pitch, low for ball 2. 2-1 now the count to Luke Holly. Cleanup hitter for your Eagles. Devin Peterson down at second base. Caden Richardson from the third base side of the rubber will come set in the stretch. Takes a look back at Peterson at second base. The 2-1 pitch. Called strike on the inside corner. Evens up the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Seems to be a lot more generous strike zone here in the bottom of the inning than it was in the top for Leininger. 2-2 the count to Luke Holly. Richardson comes set. A look back at second base. The 2-2 pitch. The bender, inside corner, called strike 3. And the Eagles are down here in the bottom of the first. No runs on no hits. 1 error and 1 runner left on base after 1 inning. Little Elm 3, Georgetown nothing. Eagle baseball continues in just a moment. And here we go. I'm sorry about that. Trying to get some clarification. The error does go to the catcher there on that throwdown. And so here comes Leininger back on the mound to face off against 8-9-1 hitters. The first pitch to Heathcock is in there for a called strike here in the top of the second inning. 0-1 to count to Ben Heathcock, the catcher. Heathcock, Dickinson, and Johnson due up. 0-1 pitch, fouled off of himself for strike two. It's a dead ball there. So an 0-2 count here to Ben Heathcock, the catcher for the Lobos. 3-0 after one inning. Heathcock back in there. Riley Leininger, the 0-2 pitch, the breaking pitch. Inside corner, called strike three. And Leininger starting to get the same courtesy strike zone that Caden Richardson experienced in the bottom of the first.
Next up, Little Elm, number 5, Corey Dickinson.
So the second strikeout of the ball game for Leininger. The first inning, 3 runs on 3 hits, 1 error, or no errors, 1 runner left on. 25 pitches thrown by Leininger as he faces the number 9 hitter here. Pop up right side of the infield. Talon ball will shade his eyes. Comes in at second base. Will settle under it and make the catch. Tough play there in the bright sunlight, but a great job by the Mighty Mouse to make the catch. P4 in the book for out number 2. So 2 quick outs here in the top of the second inning.
Back to the top of the lineup.
For the Lobos. And now back to the top of the lineup. Kendall Johnson will step in, the center fielder. He led off first pitch swinging with a triple and a run scored. First pitch to Johnson, fouls it off. Strike one. 0-1 to count now. Beautiful sunshiny day here. Georgetown, Texas, the Eagle Field. The 0-1 pitch. Outside as Johnson had squared the bunt. Pulls it back and takes it for ball one. A 1-1 to count now. Leininger from the windup. The 1-1 pitch. Fouled off of the shin guard of Reese Herrera. And now 1 ball, 2 strikes to count to Kendall Johnson. Eagles would love to get out of this inning quickly. Back at the bats. The 1-2 pitch. Up and in. Ball 2. Nice location there. Couldn't get Johnson to chase. And now a 2-2 count to the center fielder, Kendall Johnson. 1 for 1 in the ball game with the run scored. Leininger gets a sign from Herrera from the windup. The 2-2 pitch. Fouled back to the screen. So you hear it bounce there. Count remains 2 balls and 2 strikes. Kendall Johnson with Dylan Terry, the second baseman, on deck. Leininger a shake off, and gets a sign he wants. Now Johnson will take a timeout and step out and reset. Kendall Johnson, the senior outfielder, bats left, throws left. Steps back in from the left side. Leininger from the windup. The 2-2 pitch. Misses outside. Ball 3. The full count now. To the leadoff hitter for the Lobos, Kendall Johnson. Dylan Terry waits on deck. Should Johnson extend the inning? Leininger gets the sign. The payoff pitch. Just misses for ball 4. So a 2-out walk issued.
Next up, number 2, Dylan Terry.
As Dylan Terry will step in. The first walk issued by Leininger here in the ball game. Dylan Terry steps in, the second baseman. He's 0 for 1. Struck out swinging back in the first inning. Steps in here with 2 outs and a runner at second. Leininger switches over to the stretch. Fluid will hold Johnson on at first base. Leininger comes set. The first pitch of the at-bat, the breaking pitch. Drops low for ball 1. 1-0 the count to Dylan Terry. Roman Robinson, the shortstop, on deck. Should Terry extend the inning here for the Lobos. Leininger comes set in the stretch. Johnson leads off first. Throw to first base. Johnson back in safely there. Another catcher's gear malfunction here, as Reese Herrera has to fix his shin guard again. Great to see some of the Sun City boosters out for this one here on this beautiful Saturday. A peppering of fans here in the crowd. I know the softball team was earlier playing over in Dripping Springs this morning. Now your Eagles playing here. Soccer played last night. Leininger comes set. 1 ball, no strikes to Dylan Terry. Throw over to first base, and Johnson dives back in safely. Two outs here in the top of the second. Strikeout looking and a pop-up to second base. A 2-out walk, and here we sit. 1-0, now a throw to first. A great throw there, but Johnson slides back in. Liger will come set in the stretch. A 1-0 the count to Terry, the 1-0 pitch. Stays up and in, ball 2. 2-0 count to Terry with the runner at runner at first and 2 outs here in the top of the second. 3-0. Little Elm got 3 in the top of the first on 3 hits. Trying to extend the inning here with 2 outs and a runner at first. Leininger comes set, a peek at first base. The 2-0 pitch. Bottom half of the zone called strike 1. 2-1 count now to Dylan Terry, the second baseman for the Lobos. Throw over to first base again. Johnson back in easily. Got to respect his speed. The center fielder showed it on the first pitch of the ball game when he sent the hit to the right center field wall. Triple. He's off and running. The 2-1 pitch inside. And no stolen base given there. They're going to say that it hit the batter, Dylan Terry. So he'll reach on a hit by pitch. Runners on first and second now. 2 outs here in the inning. Second batter hit by a pitch by Leininger here in the ball game. Roman Robinson, the shortstop, steps in. He had an RBI single back in the first. Scored 1 of the runs for the Lobos. Steps in here with 2 outs and runners on first and second. Leininger from the stretch. He'll turn towards second, but Johnson strolls back in standing. Leininger will come set in the stretch. The first pitch to Robinson. Low and outside, ball 1. Robinson back in from the right side. Leininger gets the side from Herrera, comes set in the stretch. The 1-0 pitch. A ball hit into center field. Devin Peterson, a few steps back, will settle under it, make the catch for out number 3. And after 1.5 innings, the score remains Little Elm 3, Georgetown nothing. Eagle baseball continues in just a minute. Back here live at Eagle Field. We go to the bottom of the second inning. Georgetown trails 3-0 to Little Elm Lobos out of the greater DFW Metroplex area north of DFW. And in steps the right fielder, number 11, Jackson Rainey. Rainey, the 6'2", 215-pound senior. Throws right, bats left. Will step in here to lead things off for the Eagles in the bottom of the second against Caden Richardson. The first pitch to Rainey. Up and away, ball one. The 1-0 pitch to Rainey. Inside corner, called strike one. Count evens, 1 ball and 1 strike. To the right fielder, Jackson Rainey. Rainey, Herrera, ball 2 up here in the inning. This pitch slap foul back to the screen. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count now to Jackson Rainey. Rainey backs in. The 1-2 pitch. Stays high. Rainey lays off and takes it for ball 2. In the first inning of work for Richardson, he struck out 4. After the drop third strike, the throwing error by the catcher, Heathcock, allowed Peterson to reach first. 2-2 pitch, ground ball hit up the middle. Deep in the hole, the second baseman fields it. The throw, not in time. An infield single for Jackson Rainey. So the Eagles get off the hitless schneid here in the bottom of the second inning with the leadoff single by Jackson Rainey.
Next up for the Eagles.
Here comes the catcher, number 16, Reese Herrera. Herrera, the 6'1", 190-pound senior, bats right, throws right, steps in here with no outs, and a runner at first. Richardson will move over to the stretch now, third base side of the rubber. Herrera from the right side. The first pitch to Herrera. Right down the outside part of the plate for a called strike, 0-1 the count. Talent ball on deck. David Fluid in the hole for the Eagles here in the bottom of the second. Richardson comes set. The 0-1 pitch, and that hit him. Herrera's going to head down to first on a hit by pitch. So the head coach for the Lobos, Matt Harbin, comes out arguing that it said it hit the knob. As it sits, Herrera goes to first on the hit by pitch. Jackson Rainey will move up to second base. And Andrew Nations will come out to courtesy run for the catcher. And no overrule by the field umpire. So runners on first and second for the Eagles. As in steps Talon Ball. Number 2, the 5'9", 165-pound Mighty Mouse steps in from the right side. With no outs and runners on first and second for the Eagles. Richardson comes set. Ball squares the bunt. The pickoff throw into center field. But a good job there by Johnson to back up the throw. Rainey unable to advance. Ball had started to square to bunt. So we'll see how that goes here. What happens? Richardson comes set in the stretch. Rainey off second. Nations, the courtesy runner, off first. Ball squares the bunt, bunts it down the third baseline. Richardson will field it. He's got to make a long throw. Up the line, it's an error, and it's going to run up the right field line. Rainey around to score. Nations to third. Talon Ball into second. We'll see how they rule that, if it's going to be an error or a hit. They're going to give a throwing error on the pitcher, Caden Richardson. But a beautiful bunt placed on the third base line by the Mighty Mouse, Talon Ball. And he beats out the throw that got away from the second baseman, Terry. So that'll score a run there for the Eagles as Rainey comes all the way to score from second base. Now runners on second and third. 3-1 your score. No outs here in the bottom of the second.
Now batting for the Eagles, number 12, first baseman David Fluid.
David Fluid will step in. First pitch is the ball to Fluid. 1-0 the count. Fluid, 6'1", 170-pound junior. Bats left, throws left. Back in for the left side. Richardson from the windup. The infield in for the Lobos. Square around. The bunt right out in front of the mound in no man's zone. The pitch from the glove, not in time. Fluid will reach on the fielder's choice as Nation scores the second run of the ball game. And now runners on the corners. Good bunt there by Fluid. Richardson tried to scoop it with his glove and pitch it to the catcher, Heathcock, to no avail. And in steps Jack Kiki with runners on the corners. So Nation's across. Talon moves up to third. And Fluid on the fielder's choice with the RBI. Pitch to Kiki, called the ball. It's good. I left it up anyway. 1-0 the count to the shortstop, Jack Kiki. Kiki, the lone sophomore here on the varsity for Eagles. 5'11", 160-pound sophomore. Bats right, throws right. The shortstop in for the right side. Richardson from the stretch. The 1-0 pitch to Kiki. Square to bunt. Bunts it down the first baseline. But it's going to go foul and even up the count at 1-1. Eagles trying to push her in, play a small ball and get that third run in to even things up. 2 runs across so far here in the bottom of the second with no outs for your Eagles. And we'll straighten out the Talon ball scoring here in just a second. Richardson comes set, the 1-1 pitch to Kiki. Kiki takes it for called strike 2, 1-2 the count now. Jack Kiki. Talon is going to be given credit for a base hit, saying he would have beat the throw by the pitcher. Caden Richardson with that single. He has the RBI. Kiki swings and misses for out number 1. The 5th strikeout of the ball game for Caden Richardson. In steps Devin Peterson.
For the Eagles, number 17, Devin Peterson.
He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Struck out and reached base on an error on the drop third strike by the catcher, Heathcock. So Talon will get the single and an RBI, but reached second on the throw. It got up the first baseline by Richardson. Peterson squares the bunt. The charge by the third baseman. The runner off. Pulls back. The throw down. Cut off at the mound. And Talon will scramble back in at third base. So now the stolen base there by David Fluid. Has runners at second and third with 1 out now. So the Eagles putting on pressure here, trying to tie this one up. Now Peterson will step back in. 1 ball, no strikes. They called it a strike. 0-1 the count. Peterson squares around, pulls it back, takes it for a called strike. Now Peterson will have to protect. No balls and 2 strikes with 1 out. Runners on second and third. Richardson from the windup. Ball slapped off the first base dugout. As Devin Peterson stays alive in the at-bat. And it is 1-2. So the first one was a ball. So 1 ball and 2 strikes now for Devin Peterson. The 1-2 pitch from Richardson. That hit his helmet. How in the world? Oh my gosh. Peterson taken to the ground and hit his helmet. Coach Vieira's coming down. Coach Vieira asked him how he didn't hear it. I heard it up here through the microphone. So now the count goes 2-2. Peterson should have been down at second base with the bases loaded and 1 out. Instead, he'll step back in. 2-2 the count. One out, the runner at first and second. Swing and a miss, strike three. Well, put a star by that one. Give that one to the umpire. Should have been bases loaded with one out. Instead, it's runners at second and third with 2 outs now after the strikeout, the 6th of the ball game for Richardson. And in-state steps Tate Ritchie, 0 for 1 of the ball game with a strikeout. The first pitch, Ritchie pops it up down the right field line. Into foul territory, the right fielder on the run makes the catch for out number 3. F9 in the book to retire the Eagles here in the bottom of the second. And now the Eagles, you hear Coach Vieira, the Eagles pick up 2 runs on 2 hits, 2 errors, or 1 error, and 2 runners left on base. After 2 complete innings, Georgetown trails by 1, 3-2. Eagle baseball continues in a moment. We're back here for the top of the 3rd inning. The Lobos lead it 3-2. Leininger back to the mound for his 3rd inning of work. Face off against number 10, Alex Medrano, the first pitch away for ball 1. Medrano was hit by a pitch in his first plate appearance. Came around to score the 3rd run of the ball game for the Lobos. Steps in here to lead things off. The 3, 4, and 5, or the 4, 5, and 6 hitters due up. Medrano, Richardson, and Bliss. The 1-0 pitch fouled off back to the screen. 1-1 now the count to the 3rd baseman, Alex Medrano. 25 pitches in the first inning, 17 in the second for Leininger. 42 in the ball game with 3 hits allowed, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 2 batters hit by a pitch. Leininger from the windup. 1-1 pitch. Right back up the middle. Talon Ball will backhand it. Deep in the hole. The throw across the diamond. Scoop by Fluid, but they're going to say he pulled his foot off the bag. So that'll be an error on Talon Ball. First error of the ball game for the Eagles. He had to get rid of it quickly. Nope, they're going to give it a hit. Nope, there's the error popping up on the board. So it'll be Medrano reaching base on the E4. The first runner is on for the Lobos here. In the top of the 3rd inning. I'll get it all caught up. The one-man circus on full effect here today in the booth. So in steps Caden Richardson. He had a 2 RBI double back in the first inning, was left stranded there. Steps in here with no outs and a runner at first. Leininger from the stretch. A look at first, now comes set. As he comes set, Richardson then takes a timeout and resets. Richardson back in for the right side. Leininger comes set in the stretch. The first pitch, nope. Throw over to first base. Medrano back safely standing. 3-2. The Lobos lead it after 2 complete innings. The Eagles respond with 2 in the second. Cut the lead back to 1 for Little Elm. Leininger comes set. The first pitch to Richardson. Inside corner called strike 1. 0-1 the count. Caden Richardson. Leininger will come set in the stretch as Medrano leads off first, held on by Fluid. This kind of game will make you wonder when the Pitch clock will come into effect for high school baseball. The cat and mouse game back and forth between the time and taking your time and stepping out of the box. Leininger comes set from the stretch. Medrano a big lead. Leininger a throw over again and almost got him there. Well, that one a lot closer as Medrano dives back in. Leininger comes set. Medrano shortens his lead. Fluid holds him on. The 1-0 pitch. The 0-1 pitch. And that'll hit him. So now runners on first and second for the Lobos. Third batter hit by a pitch by Leininger here in the ball game. And in steps the first baseman, Zach Bliss.
34, Bliss.
So runners at first and second with no outs for the Lobos. Bliss flew out to left field in the first inning, 0 for 1 in the ball game. Leininger comes set, the first pitch. Bliss squares the bunt, bunts it out in front of the mound. Leininger fields it, throws to one in plenty of time for the out. So the play on the sac bunt there to move the runners up. So now runners at second and third.
Next up,
with one out.
Fielder.
As Bliss sacrificed himself there, 1-3 on the putout for the first out. In steps Tristan Fielder. He grounded out to Talon Ball back in the first inning. First pitch to Fielder, inside. For ball 1. Fielder from the left side steps back in, 0 for 1 in the ball game. A 1-0 count with one out. Here in the top of the third, Leininger comes set, the 1-0 pitch. Inside, ball 2. 2-0 the count. To Tristan Fielder with Ben Heathcock, the catcher, on deck. Fielder, the number 7 hitter in the Lobo lineup, steps back in. The 2-0 pitch from Leininger. Outside corner, called strike 1. 2-1 count now to Fielder. 1 out, runners at second and third. Leininger from the stretch. The 2-1 pitch. Inside corner, called strike 2. 2-2 now the count. Tristan Fielder. Fielder back in from the left side. Leininger comes set in the stretch. Fouled off, back to the screen. Fielder stays alive in the at-bat. Medrano at third base, Richardson at second for the Lobos. They both moved up on the sac bunt by Zach Bliss. And now Fielder battling with Leininger here. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. The 2-2 pitch. Breaking pitch stays outside for ball 3. And now the 3-2 count for Tristan Fielder. Fielder back in. Leininger gets the sign and comes set from the stretch. The payoff pitch. Inside corner, called strike 3. So the second out of the inning. Third strikeout of the ball game for Riley Leininger. To sit down Tristan Fielder for out number 2. And now Ben Heathcock will step in. He struck out looking at his first at bat. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Heathcock will step in here with 2 outs and runners on second and third for the Lobos.
Next up, number 12, Heathcock.
Heathcock will step in from the right side. Leininger will stay. Now he'll move to the windup now with 2 outs and runners on second and third. The first pitch to Heathcock. Ground ball pulled foul towards the third base dugout. No balls and 1 strike to Heathcock here. Leininger shakes off the first sign. It's his pitch from Herrera from the windup. The 0-1 pitch. And that one hits him. So now the base is loaded with 2 outs. Their fourth batter hit by a pitch by Leininger here in the ball game. Loads the bases with 2 outs. And now Corey Dickinson will step in, the left fielder.
Number 5, Dickinson.
On the first pitch of the at-bat, Dickinson flew out on a pop out to second base to Talon Ball back in the second inning. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Steps in here with the bases loaded, 2 outs. Leininger from the windup, the first pitch to Dickinson. Ground ball hit out between third and second. Holly off his glove into left field. That's going to score 2 runs. Here comes Ritchie. He'll throw it in, but it's cut off by Holly. Oh, a big mistake there for the Eagles. It's going to be ruled a base hit. So Dickinson will get 2 RBIs on that one.
Number 3, Johnson.
The lead back to 3 for the Lobos. Runners at the corners. Back to the top of the lineup we go. Kendall Johnson steps in with 2 outs and runners on the corners. Breaking pitch in there for a called strike. 0-1 to count. Johnson 1 for 1 of the ball game. A triple and a run scored in the first. Walked and left stranded in the second. The 0-1 pitch to Johnson. Throw over to first base. Dickinson dives back in there. Medrano and Richardson came in on the base hit by Dickinson for the 4th and 5th runs of the ball game. Leininger comes set from the stretch. 0-1 count, 2 outs, runners on the corners. Throw to third, the yo-yo. Throw over to first base. No balls and 1 strike to Kendall Johnson. The 0-1 pitch, runner off from first. No throw there. They'll let him steal the bag to keep the runner at third base. So now runners at second and third. 1-1 to count to Kendall Johnson. Leininger back to the windup. The 1-1 pitch. Misses outside for ball 2. 2-1 to count. Leininger gets the sign. Now he'll step off and reset. 2 balls, 1 strike with 2 outs to Kendall Johnson, the number 1 hitter in the Lobo lineup. With runners on second and third. The 2-1 pitch. Outside corner. That one called strike 2. Evens up the count now at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 5-2. The Lobos responded to the Eagles' 2 runs in the bottom of the inning with 3 of their own here at the top of the third. With 2 of their own. Fouled off. Johnson stays alive in the at-bat, 2-2. 3 runs in the first and now 2 here in the third. They're threatening still. The runners on second and third and 2 outs. The center fielder Kendall Johnson battling here. 2-2 count. A 2-2 pitch. Stays high. Ball 3. So a full count to the leadoff man, Kendall Johnson, who's up for his 3rd plate appearance in the ballgame here in the top of the third. Leininger gets a sign from Herrera. From the windup, the payoff pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. For out number 3. The Eagles get out of here with no more damage in the top of the third. 2 runs on 1 hit. 1 error on the Eagles. 2 runners left on base. After 2.5 innings, the Lobos 5, Georgetown 2. Eagle baseball continues here in a minute. And we go to the top or bottom of the 3rd inning. Had to clean it all out. Sorry about that. The road show continues. A one-man band here. We go to the bottom of the 3rd. Leininger will lead us off. Holly and Rainey do it behind him. First pitch from Richardson's in there for a called strike. 0-1 the count to Riley Leininger. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Struck out swinging in the first. The 0-1 pitch popped up down the left field line. A long run for the left fielder Dickinson here. Into foul territory he goes, but he can't make the catch. So a long strike will make it 0-2 now to Riley Leininger. So he leads off things here in the bottom of the 3rd for Georgetown. Trailing by 3, 5-2. 5 runs on 4 hits for the Lobos. 2 runs on 2 hits for the Eagles. The Eagles have committed 2 errors. The Lobos have committed 1 of their own. Correction, the Eagles have committed 1 error. The Lobos have committed 2. Dickinson from the windup. The 0-2 pitch stays away for ball 1. 1-2 the count now to Riley Leininger. Leininger back in from the left side. Richardson from the windup. 1-2 pitch misses just outside for ball 2. 2-2 is the count now to Riley Leininger. Richardson from the windup gets the sign. The 2-2 pitch. Leininger fouls it off the screen. Stays alive in the at-bat. 2-2. 17 pitches in the first for Richardson, 21 in the second, 38 through the 2 innings. As he works here in his 3rd inning of work for the Lobos. From the windup, Leininger back in from the left side. Richardson gets the sign. The 2-2 pitch. Leininger lays off and takes it for a called strike 3. 1 out here. The bottom of the 3rd. 7th strikeout.
3rd baseman, Luke Holly.
For Richardson, as Luke Holly will step in. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Struck out looking in the first, 0 for 1 here in the game. Holly will step back in from the right side as Richardson ready to go. The first pitch to Holly. Squares the bunt. This one low and away in the dirt for ball 1. 1-0 to Luke Holly. Jackson Rainey on deck. 1-0 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 1. 1-1 the count to Luke Holly with 1 out here in the bottom of the 3rd. Base is empty for the Eagles. And a great job by Luke there. Step in and have his time. Richardson quickly fires. This one over the head of Holly for ball 2. Richardson works quickly, so Holly did a great job there of getting time while he stepped in. As Richardson, as soon as the batter stepping in, is starting his motion. Good job there to throw off the timing of Richardson. 2-1 to count to Luke. The 2-1 pitch. Outside, ball 3. So a 3-1 count. First 3-ball count from Richardson to the ball game. The 3-1 pitch outside, ball 4. So a 1-out walk to Luke Holly gives the Eagles a base runner here. First walk issued by Richardson.
Number 11, Jackson Rainey.
Rainey will step in. Cord Lawrence will come in to pinch run here for Luke Holly. Jackson Rainey 1 for 1 in the ball game. Singled and scored the first run of the ball game for Georgetown as he steps in here with 1 out and a runner at first. Lawrence leads off first, being held on by Bliss. The first pitch to Rainey fouls it off back to the screen for strike 1. 0-1 to count. Rainey back in from the left side. Lawrence leads off first. Richardson comes set in the stretch. Throw over to first base. Lawrence easily back on the head first slide. Richardson comes set. The 0-1 pitch. Base hit up, or ball hit up the middle. Second baseman will field it. Flip to short. The throw to first. Not in time. Good hustle by Jackson Rainey to break up the double play. Cord Lawrence cut down at second base. 4-6 on the play there to get the second out of the inning. So a runner at first base with 2 outs.
Number 16, Reese Herrera.
Rainey reaches on the fielder's choice. In steps Reese Herrera. He was hit by a pitch at his first plate appearance back in the second inning. Came around to score the second run of the inning. And the ball game for the Eagles. Steps in here with 2 outs and a runner at first. The first pitch to Herrera. Low and outside, ball 1. 1-0 the count to Reese Herrera. Talon ball waits on deck. Should Herrera be able to extend the inning for Georgetown? Rainey leads off first, being held on by Bliss. Throw over to first base, and Rainey dives back in safely. One ball, no strikes. To Reese Herrera. Richardson will come set. Rainey off and running. A 1-0 pitch grounded. High hopper fielded by the second baseman. The throw in time to retire Herrera and the Eagles here in the bottom of the third. No runs on no hits, no errors, and 1 runner left on base. After 3 complete, Little Elm 5, Georgetown 2. Eagle baseball continues in a moment. Back here live at Eagle Field, a couple of changes here, a little swapping of positions. As Luke Holly goes to the mound for the Georgetown Eagles here in the top of the 4th inning, Riley Leininger leaves the mound but goes and takes third base in place of Luke Holly. So a defensive swap here for the Eagles. And so Luke Holly moves to the mound in his first appearance here of this tournament in relief. Leininger in 3 innings, allowed 3 hits, 3 runs, struck out 4, walked 1, hit 4. 65 pitches on the outing. As Luke Holly comes in here, the first pitch from Holly on the outside corner for a called strike 1. Holly will face off against the 2, 3, and 4 hitters. Dylan Terry steps in 0 for 1 with the hit by pitch as well. Lead things off here for the Lobos in the top of the 4th. Holly from the windup, the 0-1 pitch. Outside corner, called strike 2. 0-2 the count. Holly works from the first base side of the rubber in the windup. Gets the side from Herrera. The 0-2 pitch. Just misses outside. Nice spot. And now a 1-ball, 2-strike count for Dylan Terry, the second baseman for the Lobos. The 1-2 pitch. Breaking ball hit down the third baseline. Leininger will field it. Fire across the diamond, but it'll pull fluid off the bag. So another error here for the Eagles. Second of the ball game. Will allow a base runner.
Now batting, number 7, Roman Robinson.
So Terry down at first on the error. They'll charge it on the throw from Riley Leininger. So a runner at first with no outs here as Luke Holly moves to the stretch. Roman Robinson, the shortstop, steps in. The first pitch. Outside misses for ball 1. 1-0 the count to Robinson. He's 1 for 2 in the ball game. Singleton scored a run with an RBI in the first inning. Flew out to center field in the second. Steps in here, 1 for 2. With no outs and a runner at first. Holly comes set in the stretch. The 1-0 pitch, low and outside, ball 2. Terry leads off first, held on by Fluid. Holly comes set in the stretch. Throw over to first base. Terry back in safely there. Another throw to first. Terry back in safely. 2 balls and no strikes. The number 3 hitter in the Lobo lineup, Roman Robinson. Holly comes set. The 2-0 pitch, the runner off the bunt, but it's foul, back out of play. So the 2-1 count now. Terry will have to return to first base. 2-1 to count, no outs with the runner at first here in the top of the 4th. Terry leads off first. Holly back in from the stretch. The 2-1 pitch. Breaking pitch. Hits the batter. Now runners on first and second. The 5th batter hit by a pitch for the Eagles. Runners on first and second now with no outs.
Next up,
in steps the number 4 hitter, Alex Medrano. Is 0 for 1. Hit by a pitch and scored a run in the first. Reached on an error and scored a run in the third. Holly stays in the stretch here with the runners on first and second. And no outs. Look back at second base. Now a turn to second, no throw. The first pitch here, outside for ball 1. 1-0 the count to Alex Medrano. Caden Richardson on deck for the Lobos. Holly looks in and gets a sign from Herrera. Comes set in the stretch. A bunt out off home plate. Back behind catcher Herrera. 1-1 now the count to Alex Medrano, the third baseman for the Lobos. The 1-1 pitch. The bunt out in front of the mound. Holly fields it. Could have made a play at third. No one covering it first, and it goes up the line. That goes up out to right field. 1 run in. Here comes the second runner all the way around from second. The throw at home, not in time. Gets away from Herrera. And the comedy of errors here on this play. The Eagle defense not ready there on that bunt attempt. I thought Luke Holly could have gone to Leininger at third because that bunt was hard out in front of the mound. Instead, he turns the throw to first, but Tylen Ball wasn't covering. Fluid was off on the play. So now Coach Vieira goes out, and we'll take a break. Eagle baseball continues in a minute. To action here as the visit is over. So the Lobos have 7 runs across now in the ball game. They lead it by 5, 7-2. Error charged the Holly on the throw. Medrano up at second with 1 out. The first pitch to Bender misses for ball 1 on the inside. And starting to pick up here at Eagle Field, as you can hear in the mic. Richardson back in from the right side. 1 for 1 on the ball game. 2 RBI double in the first. Fouls this one off down the third baseline. Strike 1, 1-1 to count. It's hit by a pitch and scored a run in the third. Steps in here with no outs. A runner on second. 2 runs across. Richardson back in from the right side. Holly comes set in the stretch. The 0-1 pitch, low and in the dirt. 1-1 pitch, low and in the dirt for ball 2. 2-1 now, the count to Richardson with Bliss on deck for the Lobos. Holly from the stretch, a look at second base. Now the 2-1 pitch. Misses low for ball 3. 3-1 now, the count to Richardson. Three and 1 the count to Caden Richardson. No outs, a runner at second. The 3-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 2. Nice pitch there from Luke Colley. Runs the count full to the number 5 hitter, the pitcher, Caden Richardson. Holly comes set. A look at second base. Medrano leads off. The payoff pitch. Fly ball high in the air to right field. Rainey doesn't see it. It's short. Right beside Ball, about 10 feet away from Talon. It was lost in the light, in the sun. Oh, it'll be ruled a double. Richardson was off and running.
Next up, number 34.
Now runners on second and third for the Lobos. In steps the first baseman, Zach Bliss. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. First pitch from Holly. Ground ball. Hit down the line. Fluid will field it at first, and his only play is going to be back to the bag. 3 unassisted. But it'll be an RBI for Bliss. As the runner scores from third. Medrano in. Richardson over to third base. So now a runner at third with 1 out.
Batting number 4.
Lead now
Fielder.
6 for the Lobos. 3 across here in the inning. First pitch to Tristan Fielder, misses for ball 1. He's 0 for 2 in the ball game. 1-0 the count from Holly here. He stays in the stretch. The 1-0 pitch. Inside corner, called strike 1. 1-1 now the count. Fielder grounded out in the first. Struck out looking in the third. Steps in here 0 for 2 with 1 out and a runner at third base. On deck the catcher, Ben Heathcock. Holly comes set. A 1-1 pitch. Bender stays outside for ball 2. 2-1 the count. Two balls, 1 strike, 1 out to Tristan Fielder, the right fielder for the Lobos from Little Elm. The 2-1 pitch. Misses low, ball 3. 3 runs in the inning on 1 hit, 2 Eagle errors. Has run it to an 8-2 ball game. The Lobos lead by 6. Holly comes set from the stretch. The 3-1 pitch. Ground ball hit out to second. Talent ball up with it. Throws to first for the out. Richardson unable to score on it. So 2 outs in the inning. 4-3 on the putout from ball to Fluid. And in steps the catcher, Ben Heathcock.
Next up, number 12, Ben Heathcock.
Or number 12, Ben Heathcock, number 2. Number 12, he's 0 for 1 in the ball game. Struck out looking the second. Was hit by a pitch and left stranded on third in the third inning. Steps in here with 2 outs, a runner at third. First pitch, low and outside, ball 1. 3 in the first, 2 in the third, and 3 here in the fourth for the Lobos. Holly from the windup, the 1-0 pitch. Outside corner, called strike 1. A 1-1 count now to the catcher, Ben Heathcock. Corey Dickinson, the left fielder. On deck. Should Heathcock extend the inning? The 1-1 pitch. Line drive, foul ball. Out of play down the first baseline. The count now 1 ball and 2 strikes. To Ben Heathcock, the catcher. Holly from the windup. The 1-2 pitch to Heathcock. The big bender stays inside for ball 2. 2 balls, 2 strikes with 2 outs here in the top of the 4th inning. Holly gets assigned the payoff pitch. Ball lifted into left field for a base hit. That'll score Richardson from third. The 4th run of the inning for the Lobos. On the second hit, Heathcock picks up his first hit, an RBI.
Now batting number 5, Corey Dickinson.
Number 5, Corey Dickinson will come in. The number 9 hitter in the lineup for the Lobos. 1 for 2 in the ball game. Popped out in the second, singled and stole second, left stranded there. In the third on the 2 RBI single. Ground ball out to third. Leininger fields it. Will throw across the diamond, low into the turf, but scooped by Fluid for out number 3. 5-3 on the putout to end the inning for the Lobos, but not before they do more damage. 4 runs on 2 hits, 2 errors, and 1 runner left on base. After 3.5 innings, 9-2, the Lobos lead it over your Eagles. Quick timeout. Eagle baseball continues in just a moment. go to the bottom of the fourth inning. 9-2. Little Elm leads it over Georgetown. A pitching change for the Lobos. The first pitch from Zach Bliss is a called strike to number 2, Talon Ball, as he leads it off here. In the bottom of the fourth. Zach Bliss moves from first base to the mound. The 0-1 pitch. Line drive hit out to second base, but a nice snag there by the second baseman Terry for out number 1. L4 in the book to record the first out of the inning of Talon Ball.
Now batting for the Eagles, number 12, David Floyd.
David Floyd will step in. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game, an RBI fielder's choice and a stolen base back in the second inning. 0 for 1 in the ball game. First pitch to Floyd is low and away. For ball 1, 1-0 the count. Now on defensively at first base is number 30, Isaac Butler, a senior. Bliss, the lefty from the stretch. Popped up by Floyd into left field, shallow left field. On the run is the left fielder Dickinson. He can't handle it, and it's down. Floyd running hard, and he'll be into second base. Nice effort there by Floyd. An elder on the left fielder Dickinson. Third error of the ball game. For the Lobos.
Number 20, Jack Kiki.
That'll bring up Jack Kiki with 1 out and a runner at second for the Eagles. Number 9 hitter Jack Kiki, the shortstop, steps in with 1 out and a runner at second. Bliss from the stretch, the first pitch to Kiki. Swing and a miss, strike 1. Kiki struck out swinging the second, 0 for 1 here in the ball game. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. The one-man show continues. There's that one. The 0-1 pitch from Bliss. Kiki sends it into left field. It's got to be down for a base hit. Floyd will be held at third. And the Eagles will have runners at the corners. A beautiful piece of hitting there by Kiki, his first hit of the ball game.
Back to the top of the lineup for the Eagles, number 17, Devin Peterson.
So runners at the corners for the Eagles. With 1 out here in the inning, and now in steps the leadoff man, Devin Peterson. He's 0 for 2 in the ball game. Struck out in the first, but reached on a drop third strike and a throwing error by the catcher. Stole second base, was left stranded there. Struck out swinging in the second, steps in here. The runners on the corners and 1 out. The left-hander Bliss from the stretch, the first pitch. Outside, ball 1 to Peterson. On deck, Tate Ritchie, the left fielder for the Eagles. Peterson back in for the right side. The lefty Bliss comes set from the stretch. The 1-0 pitch. Misses low, ball 2. Bliss works from the third base side of the rubber here in the stretch. Comes set. The 2-0 pitch to Peterson. Peterson will take it for a called strike. 2-1 to count. Two balls, 1 strike to Devin Peterson. 1 out, runners on the corners. This one hit into left center field. It's down for a hit. It'll be extra bases. It gets all the way to the wall. Floyd scores easily. Here comes Kiki around third. He's being waved home. The relay throw to the plate is going to be in time. No, the tag is missed. What a slide by Kiki. A 2 RBI double by Devin Peterson has cut it back to a 5-run deficit. What a shot there by Devin Peterson, the senior center fielder. He gets 2 RBIs on the double. Hard running there by Kiki to come all the way around from third base. And now a visit from the head coach of the Lobos, Matt Harbin. We'll take a quick timeout. Eagle baseball continues in just a moment. Back here live, Eagle Field. In steps the left fielder, Tate Ritchie. He's over 2 in the ball game, a strikeout and a flyout. Steps in here with 1 out and a runner at second. The Eagles have 2 runs across thanks to a 2 RBI double by Devin Peterson. He stands at second base. Bliss still in the game on the mound. Comes set, the first pitch to Ritchie. That curveball is in there for a called strike. 0-1 to count. To Tate Ritchie, Riley Leininger on deck for the Eagles. Bliss comes set in the stretch. Look back at second, the 0-1 pitch to Ritchie. Breaking pitch stays outside, 1-1 to count. To the junior left fielder, Tate Ritchie. Bliss comes set. The 1-1 pitch. High and away, ball 2. 2-1 now the count. The 2-1 pitch to Tate Ritchie. Swing and a miss. 2-2 now the count. Riley Leininger on deck. 2 runs across here in the inning. On the 1 hit. Bliss a long look in. Peterson leads off second. Bliss now comes set in the stretch. The 2-2 pitch. Ritchie hits it into right field. The Texas leaguer will fall for a base hit, and the Eagles will have runners at the corners. Back-to-back hits. Have the Eagle offense cranking away here. Peterson moves up to third. Tate Ritchie to first with his first hit of the ball game. And in steps Riley Leininger, the third baseman. He struck out twice here in the ball game. He's 0 for 2. But a chance here to do some damage with runners on the corners and 1 out. Second hit allowed by Bliss here in the inning. Third hit allowed by Bliss. I apologize. A lefty-lefty matchup. The first pitch misses inside for ball 1. A 1-0 the count. The 1-0 pitch, breaking pitch on the inside corner. Or a called strike, 1-1. Tate Ritchie off first. Peterson off third. The 1-1 pitch to Leininger. Stays inside, ball 2. 2-1 the count. Bliss gets the sign, comes set in the stretch. The lefty looks at first. The 2-1 pitch. Away and outside, ball 3. 3-1 now, the count to Leininger. On deck, the pitcher, Luke Holly. Bliss comes set in the stretch. Ritchie leads off first, held on by Butler. The 3-1 pitch. Leininger sends it down the right or left field line, but it's going to curl foul. And that'll run the count full. 3 balls and 2 strikes now. To Riley Leininger. An opportunity here for this Eagle offense to keep it going. 2 runs already across here to cut the lead back to 5, 9-4. And bases, runners on the corners, 1 out, a full count to Riley Leininger, the lefty. Zach Bliss gets the sign and comes set in the stretch. The payoff pitch, nope, gonna throw to first. Butler didn't even attempt to tag there as Ritchie easily back in. Peterson off third, Ritchie off first. Bliss comes set. The payoff pitch. Leininger hits it out towards second. It gets under the glove of the second baseman into right field. That's going to be a base hit. Ritchie gets up to second base. Peterson scores from third, the 5th run of the ball game, and now runners on first and second. A sinking line drive there by Leininger.
Now batting for the Eagles, number 6.
Terry couldn't make a catch on it. skips under his glove, and 4 hits in a row for the Eagles. Third run across in the inning. 9-5 the score. Terry Ritchie up to second. Leininger up to first on the RBI single. And now in steps Luke Hawley. He's 0 for 1 in the ball game. First pitch to Hawley. He lays off and takes it on the outside corner as the breaker cuts the corner for called strike 1. So an RBI single for Leininger, scoring Peterson. 9-5. Bliss comes set. The 0-1 to Hawley in there for a called strike 2. Hawley struck out looking in the first, was walked in the third inning. 0-2 the count to Hawley from the right side. Bliss the lefty, ready to go. The 0-2 pitch. Hawley fouls it off down the first baseline and stays alive in the at-bat. No balls, 2 strikes. Talon ball lined out on a nice shot to the left of the second baseman, Terry. But then Fluid reached on an error. Kiki singled. Peterson, a 2 RBI double. And then a Tate Ritchie single and a Riley Leininger single. Have us at 9-5. The 0-2 pitch. Drop shot caught by the second baseman, Terry, as he drifted into shallow center field. Thought it was going to be a Texas leaguer. But a nice play there. P4 in the book. For out number 2.
Now batting for the Eagles, number 11, Jackson Rainey.
And that'll bring up Jackson Rainey with 2 outs and runners at first and second. Lefty-lefty matchup here as Rainey steps in. Bliss's first pitch to Rainey. Up and away, ball 1. Jackson Rainey, 1 for 2 in the ball game. Single and a run scored in the second. Reached on a fielder's choice and left stranded in the third. Steps in here with runners on first and second and 2 outs. 2 runs across for the Eagles. 3 runs across. It's 9-5. The 1-0 pitch on the outside corner for a called strike. 1-1. Herrera on deck. Should Jackson Rainey be able to extend the inning? Bliss comes set, the 1-1 pitch. Rainey hits it out, and it's into right field, a base hit. Tate Ritchie around third. He's being waved home. Here comes the throw home. They'll let it go, and Ritchie will be tagged out at home. What a play by the right fielder. Tristan Fielder throws out Ritchie at home plate. So the base hit by Jackson Rainey into right field. Single there for Rainey, the 5th hit of the inning for the Eagles. But it's all erased as Ritchie was gunned out at home. 7-2 on the putout for the 3rd out of the inning. So the Eagles pick up 3 runs on 5 hits, 1 error, and 2 runners left on base. After 4 complete innings, 9-5, the Lobos lead it over your Eagles. Eagle baseball continues in just a moment. We go to the top of the 5th inning and due up for the Lobos of Little Elm will be the top 3 in the lineup. Johnson, Terry, and Robinson. Johnson 1 for 2 in the ball game. First pitch swinging. It's into right center field. A base hit. Rainey will cut this one off. It'll be a leadoff single for Kendall Johnson, his 2nd hit of the ball game. 3 out of 4 at bats. He reaches base now. So the base hit there for Johnson has the first man aboard. For the Lobos in the top of the 5th, and in comes Dylan Terry. He's 0 for 2 in the ball game. A strikeout, reached on an error and scored a run in the fourth. Was hit by a pitch and left stranded back in the second. Third hit allowed by Holly in his second inning of relief work. The bunt up the first baseline. Holly will field it, and he'll just wait and tag the runner Terry out it on his way to first for out number 1. But that sacrifice bunt moves the runner into scoring position down at second base for the Lobos. So a nice sac bunt there by Dylan Terry.
Now batting number 7, Roman Robinson.
One unassisted on the play. Kendall Johnson down to second base. Roman Robinson steps in with 1 out. The runner on second. Shortstop. It's 1 for 2 in the ball game. 2 runs scored. Singled and scored a run in the first with an RBI. Flew out to center in the second inning. Was hit by a pitch and scored a run in the fourth. Steps in here with 1 out. The runner at second base. 9-5. The Lobos lead it by 4. Holly comes set from the stretch. The first pitch, Johnson off and running. Herrera will throw down, but not in time. A stolen base for Kendall Johnson, and now the runner just 90 feet away. First pitch was called. Sure what it was called. Holly comes set. The pitch inside for a ball. Herrera keeps it close by. Waiting for the umpire to make the signal here if it's 2-0 or 1-1. So Holly will go back to the windup with the runner at third. From the windup, ball hit down the left field line, but it'll curl foul. So we know the count has at least 1 strike and 1 ball in it. The magic is, what is the other one? 2 balls and 1 strike. The first pitch was called a ball that Johnson stole on. So 2-1 to count to Roman Robinson. The 2-1 pitch fouled off back to the screen. The count evens out at 2 balls and 2 strikes now. On deck, Alex Medrano, the third baseman. He's 0 for 2 in the ball game. He scored 3 of the runs for the Lobos. Holly goes back to the stretch from the first base side of the rubber. Comes set. The 2-2 pitch. That one down and away for ball 3. Nice stop by Herrera. There's Speedy Johnson just 90 feet away. Holly comes set. The payoff pitch. Outside corner called strike 3. Robinson down on strikes looking for out number 2. And Alex Medrano will step in. Was hit by a pitch and scored a run in the first. Reached on an error in the third and in the fourth. Scored runs in both of those innings.
Number 10, Alex Medrano.
So Medrano will step in. 0 for 2 in the ball game with 3 runs scored. As Luke Holly on in his second inning of relief for the Eagles. Leadoff single here in the inning for Johnson. First pitch to Medrano, fouled off, back off the clamshell for strike 1. 0-1 the count with 2 outs to Alex Medrano, the cleanup hitter for the Lobos, the third baseman. He's back in for the right side. Holly from the first base side of the rubber in the windup. The 0-1 pitch. Breaking pitch hit down the first baseline. Flew it. Will field it right behind the bag. Step on first for out number 3. 3 unassisted. And the Eagles get out of the inning unscathed. No runs on 1 hit, no errors, and 1 runner left on base. After 4.5 innings, the Lobos 9, the Eagles 5. Eagle baseball continues in just a moment here on the SHN Sports Network. Back here for the bottom of the 5th inning. First pitch to Reese Herrera. It's a called strike. New pitcher into the ball game is Roman Robinson, the shortstop. He moves on to the mound. Herrera fouls the second pitch off for strike 2. 0-2 the count to Reese Herrera. 5, 6, and 7 hitters. 5, 6, 7, and 8 hitters due up here in the bottom of the 5th for the Eagles. The 0-2 pitch, Herrera right back up the middle, base hit. Great piece of 0-2 hitting there by Reese Herrera. As he singles back up the middle. And a base runner aboard here for the Eagles. Robinson was the shortstop. Now at shortstop is the second baseman Terry. Into the ball game for Terry as he moved to short. In at second base is number 8, Christian Aranda, the senior. He goes to second base for the Lobos. And Bliss goes back to first base for Butler for the Lobos. First pitch here to Talonball is up and away, ball 1. Andrew Nations on to courtesy run for the catcher, Reese Herrera. 1-0 the count to Talonball. He's 1 for 2 in the ball game. The 1-0 pitch. In there for a called strike. Throw down behind Nations, but it's off of him. He's safe there. 1-1 the count now to Talonball. A 1 count to Talonball. David Fluid on deck for the Eagles. Robinson comes set in the stretch. The 1-1 pitch. Ball hits it right back up the middle. Robinson, it's off his glove. The only play he'll have is a lob to first base to get Talonball for the first out. Nations moves up to second base. So with 1 out, the Eagles have a runner on second base.
Next up for the Eagles, number 12, David Fluid.
David Fluid steps in. 1-3 on the putout to retire ball at first base. Fluid steps in. 0 for 2 in the ball game. Reached on a fielder's choice in the second. Was left stranded. Reached on an error and scored a run in the 4th. First pitch to Fluid is up and away. Ball 1. In his inning of work, Bliss allowed 3 runs, 5 hits, through 27 pitches. Robinson comes set. The 1-0 pitch to Fluid. Fluid hits it out. Third baseman can't get to it. It's into the hold, into left field. Nations will hold up at third base. Runners on the corners with a 1-out base hit by David Fluid. Well, Eagles have runners on the corners with 1 out here. And Jack Kiki, the shortstop, will step in. The number 9 hitter. He's 1 for 2 in the ball game. Struck out swinging in the second. Singled and scored a run in the 4th. Steps in here. Runners on the corners and 1 out. Robinson from the stretch comes set. First pitch to Kiki. Outside for ball 1. That's why I left that ball up there. Not because I forgot to take it down. I knew it. It's going to be a ball. 1-0 the count to Jack Kiki, the shortstop. Robinson comes set. The 1-0 pitch to Kiki. Breaking pitch in there for a called strike. Nice pitch to even out the count at 1-1. The 1-1 pitch. Kiki hits it down the third baseline, almost off Nation's ankles, but it's foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes now to the shortstop, Jack Kiki. Here in the bottom of the 5th. This game isn't enough. Stick around. San Antonio Johnson Jaguars will play the Eagles. The 4:30 game. The 1-2 pitch to Kiki will be delayed by a timeout called by the shortstop. Kiki will step out and reset. Runners on the corners, 1 out. The 1-2 pitch. And there was a time called by the field umpire before. He called a balk. The pitcher never came set. Robinson called it quickly. Or went quickly after he came set in the stretch. Here comes the head coach Harbin out to talk. And the umpire, you see it, I don't know if you can see him on camera, but he said he's got to come set. Robinson brings the glove and hand together up top and then moves the hands up and down, but never comes set before going home. So the balk will move the runners. One runner comes in. His Nations will score. Fluid will go up to second. And the Eagles trail by 3 now, 9-6 on that balk. So Nations comes in. Fluid up to second base. Mark a balk for Roman here. Now Coach Harbin will talk to his pitcher, Roman Robinson, about the balk call. And it gives the Eagles another run. It's 9-6 now here in the bottom of the 5th inning. So the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes to Jack Kiki with 1 out and a runner at second base now. Fluid leads off second. Roman Robinson in the stretch. Comes set. Look back at second base. The 1-2 pitch. In there. Called strike 3. Shortstop Kiki takes it for a called strike. Strikes out. For out number 2.
Back to the top of the lineup, number 17, Devin Peterson.
First strikeout. Roman Robinson. That'll bring up the leadoff man, Devin Peterson. 2 outs and a runner at second base. The first pitch to Peterson. He's in there for a called strike. Peterson, 1 for 3 in the ball game. Reached on an error in the first inning after a strike 3 dropped. Struck out swinging in the second. A 2 RBI double and a run scored in the 4th. The 0-1 pitch. In there for a called strike 2. 0-2 the count now to Peterson as he bats here in the bottom of the 5th. Robinson, a long look in. Gets the sign and comes set. Time by Peterson here as he'll step out. Reset with an 0-2 count and 2 outs here in the bottom of the 5th. 9-6. The Eagles have scratched 1 here in the bottom of the inning to close it to a 3-run deficit. Robinson, a long look in. Gets the sign from Heathcock. Now comes set in the stretch. Look back at second base. The 0-2 pitch. Low for ball 1. A 1-2. Robinson comes set. The 1-2 pitch to Peterson. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. And the Eagles are down here in the bottom of the 5th. 1 run on 2 hits. No errors and 1 runner left on base after 5 complete innings. 9 for Little Elm, 6 for your Georgetown Eagles. Eagle baseball continues in a moment. We'll bring it back here. That's going to be the ball game with the time limits in this tournament and one more game to come. Little Elm want to get back on the road to head home north of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And so this one comes to an end. Little Elm 9, Georgetown 6. Quick timeout. Bring you some final numbers, and we'll shut it down and bring it back in a few minutes for the San Antonio Johnson baseball matchup here on SHN. Stay with us. We'll be right back to close this one out. So the Georgetown Eagles fall 9-6 to the Little Elm Lobos in 5 innings here at Georgetown's Eagle Field. Devin Peterson 1 for 4 in the ball game with 2 RBIs, 3 strikeouts, and a run scored. Tate Ritchie 1 for 3 with a strikeout. Riley Leininger 1 for 3 with 2 runs and 2 strikeouts and an RBI. Luke Hawley 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a base on balls. Jackson Rainey 2 for 3 with a run scored. Reese Herrera 1 for 2 with 2 runs scored and a hit by pitch. Talon Ball 1 for 3 with an RBI. David Fluent 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run scored. And Jack Kiki 1 for 3 with 2 strikeouts and a run scored for your Eagles. We'll take a timeout. This link will close out. We'll create a new one, and it'll be San Antonio Johnson Jaguars to take on your Eagles here in just a few minutes at Eagle Field. Thanks for joining us. Remember, it doesn't cost you a dime to be kind. We'll be right back with you here on the SHN Sports Network.